You know, one thing that has been wrecking my head lately has been my lack of consistency with posting on this YouTube. Obviously, throughout prep, you know, I was posting pretty much every single week, and that was in part because prep is an exciting time. Something's happening every single week. Changes are being made to the plan. I'm losing more body fat. I'm getting leaner. We're getting closer to the shows. It's a very kind of fast-paced process. Whereas since finishing prep, obviously there was the competition prep for the Powerlifting America meet, and now since then there really hasn't been a huge amount happening in regards to exciting physique progress or exciting training progress, and that has kind of limited my want to post, because I'm like, can I provide any kind of value here to anybody? Because ultimately, obviously, I want to document my progress and my process throughout, like, you know, the next few years as I get closer to my next bodybuilding season and my next few powerlifting meets. But ultimately, there are going to be plenty of boring times within any kind of goal or any kind of long drawn out process, especially when it comes to gaining strength or gaining muscle. And as well as that, I have been getting a little bit too in my head about how these videos should look. You know, you could look at the guys who are at the top in regards to YouTube and the quality of the production of their videos. Think of somebody like Jeff Nippert, for example, right? Jeff probably spends about 40 to 50 hours on every single video. He probably has the biggest fitness YouTube account there is. He has almost like 5 million subscribers. If you don't follow him, definitely do. But I'm not Jeff Nippert, right? And I actually don't have the desire to learn how to edit as well as he does. I don't want to kind of put that time in. I don't have that time. Like, my full-time job is a coach. I don't want to spend 40 or 50 hours of my week making 5-minute video. It's like, I don't even have the creative capacity to do so. My capacity to help people is greater, and that is a greater source of my income. So it's better that I spend more of my time there. So in a sense, with these two things, with trying to make my videos be too good with too much fancy editing, or the fact that I don't have something really, really exciting to document, I've almost been letting the excuse of, oh, well, these videos aren't perfect, be the barrier between me making them and not. And if there's anything that the gym will teach you, is that it's not necessarily about your perfect sessions, it's about the kind of reps that you're putting in. How often are you getting to the gym? How often are you, hitting your macros? How often are you getting good night's sleep? The more often you do them, the bigger kind of return you get over time. If you think about, your protein that you're going to eat today, if you hit your protein today, you're not going to see the impact of that tomorrow. And the same as if you don't eat any protein today, you're not going to see the impact tomorrow either. However, all of these actions accumulated over time, that is going to nudge you in the direction that you want to go or away from where you want to go. The less often you show up and commit to a project that you want to work on, whether it be building a YouTube channel, building a business, building a physique, building a massive total, the less often you show up and actually put in the kind of reps, despite not being perfect and the circumstances not being like ideal, the less those kind of rewards are going to show up. So making a commitment here that I'm going to start posting more frequently, despite things not being the best circumstances right now in terms of how exciting things might be, because I definitely do have some value to share. So over the last month, I've been at home. So this is obviously not Canada. I'm back in Ireland. I'm back in Meath. And the last few weeks have been a bit crazy, right? Because I don't drink very often anymore. I used to drink a lot when I was younger. When I was in college, I used to be a bit of a mad thing. But since kind of moving out of that kind of lifestyle, and if you're getting into bodybuilding, you're getting into powerlifting, you're getting into competing, and you really want to take developing your strength, developing your physique seriously, it becomes something that you probably want to spend less and less time doing. And typically now I probably might go out every 12 weeks or something like that. It's not really something I think about. I think about my squat session on the Sunday. That's what I think about generally most weekends. I don't necessarily think about like, I can't wait to have a big release from the week, because like I enjoy my midweek. I enjoy my Monday to Friday. I don't necessarily feel like at the weekend I need something to kind of de-stress me or to kind of have some form of escapism. Like the gym is my escapism. And over the last few weeks now, since I've been home, so one of the reasons I came home is because, well, I had some clients competing at a powerlifting meet, and then I also had friends' birthdays. I'm going to the Rugby World Cup with some friends, and then I've got a wedding the following week. So I've got a lot of these kind of occasions on where I have been like drinking, getting like really bad sleep, that has been impacting my kind of training progress. And as a result, I haven't really been posting much of my training because it just hasn't been exciting, right? But this is important to know because it kind of falls into the same trap as what I was talking about earlier in regards to like things being perfect, right? Because like training is training, right? So training over time should improve. Should improve if we are training appropriately, we have good programming, and we're recovering well, okay? Now, if we are not recovering well, like in the instance that I am, right? So I'm having a lot more nights, a lot more weekends, a lot more kind of days of having really poor nutrition, like in terms of like low amount of calories and like high amounts of alcohol, and then poor night's sleep, and then that in fact kind of affecting following days, okay? It is important for me to lower my expectations for what I should be getting from those training sessions, because you know, if you're not recovering well, how can you expect to be setting like huge PBs? Because ultimately, if you're not eating well, if you're not sleeping well, you're probably not going to be washing away much fatigue, and you could just be overly fatigued coming into your sessions and not performing. And this builds into the concept of, you know, your direction and your speed. So as I mentioned earlier with the protein example, you eat protein every day and you train, you know, you get closer to your goal. You don't eat protein every day and you train, you might not be as close to your goal as you want it to be, because you don't have the building blocks coming in to aid with your recovery to stimulate muscle growth. Now at the moment, I'm doing probably about 95% of the things that I should be doing to have myself going in the right direction. However, I'm having some things that are reducing my speed. So I'm having a lot of these kind of speed bumps on the way over the course of the next few weeks, because I have more social occasion. And that's important to take into consideration, because there's a certain amount of time it's going to take for us to achieve a goal, okay? And the more things that we have in our way, obstacles, and how we actually approach those obstacles is going to be the thing that kind of gets us there sooner rather than later. And of course, within these obstacles, we always have a choice, okay? So it has been my choice the last few weeks to, you know, really enjoy the weddings, the birthdays, my trip to France this weekend, and to like essentially be my worst self, to, you know, drink way more alcohol than I usually would, to not get much sleep, to not eat as kind of like healthily or nutritiously as I can. And that's my choice at that time, right? It is more worth it for me to actually enjoy those occasions for what it is, rather than to be thinking about how my total is going to trend, or how it's going to impact my like next bodybuilding season, right? And that's the choice that you have to make too when it comes up to these events. And it's not as if every time that these events have popped up that I've made the exact same choice. Last year during prep, one of my best friend's 30th was when I was 2 weeks out from my first show. I went, said hello, you know, stayed for a few hours, I went home, didn't drink, just had some Coke Zeros, and that was pretty much it. You always have that choice, whether it is going out for a meal with your family. You can always kind of opt for the leaner option and just order one course, or, you know, I've had some friends bring Tupperware out to family with their dinners. A bit extreme, but you know, each to their own. Everybody's going to have different approaches towards their goal, and how you approach these obstacles really is going to tell you which of these things means that little bit more to you at the time. Now, I'm not saying that my kind of own kind of progress in kind of strength and physique development means nothing compared to these events that I'm enjoying. However, something that means a huge amount to me is like my friends, having good relationships with them, because ultimately without, you know, support systems, without friends, you don't have a huge amount to fall back on when times are tough, right? Obviously the likes of, you know, going to the gym can be a great mental release for some people, and it improves your mental health. However, you know, you can't speak to a fucking barbell. And when we're old and frail, having people to still socialize with, like, that's going to be a huge factor in improving your quality of life as you age. So it's really important for me to maintain those relationships that I've built over the years, and set aside what I want for my own kind of goals to kind of work on those relationships. There's a really interesting idea of the fact that what you're doing with your own kind of goals right now, a lot of that is kind of like building up a CV. Whereas when it comes to engaging in these things, like I'm doing right now, that is in a way kind of building up, you know, what your obituary is going to say, or what it's going to say in your tombstone. When you go, how will people talk about you? Are they going to say, oh, there was Shane, he had a great physique, there was Shane, he was really strong? Is that things I want people to remember me for? Probably not. Like, you know, I'd probably prefer people to be like, Shane was a nice guy, Shane did X, Y, and Z to help me do X, Y, and Z, right? Those things would mean far more to me than, you know, somebody just talking about like, you know, my physical accomplishments or anything of that sort. So I've kind of talked about a few different things here. However, I suppose the kind of main kind of concept is let's not let perfection get in the way in us trying to strive towards our goals, but also let's not let our goals overly consume us so much that it takes away from things that really matter in life, and as well that our direction is far more important than our speed. I'm going to finish my coffee. Hopefully we're going to go to the gym and this video wasn't too long. Here's Keen. So just back from training and I have a nice little delivery here. One of the biggest downsides to like powerlifting training is just like the time investment of the actual training sessions themselves. Like I left for the gym at 2:30, got there around 3, and now it's 7. You know, so it's a considerable amount of time to actually spend training. And I only did 4 exercises. I did my squats, I did my bench, I did pull-ups, and I did curls. But it's just the time you need to take between sets, because like when it does come to strength, you don't necessarily want to be like rushing into your sets. You want to give the sets a good amount of rest time. Like generally I'll try to kind of cap my rest times at like 5 minutes, but you know, I was sharing a rack with some of the lads when I was benching, and that, as well as just chatting and stuff, it takes a lot of time. Now, obviously, if you're just training by yourself, you can get through it a lot quicker. However, one thing I like about powerlifting is the social side. That's one of the reasons I went down to abs today, because I wanted to talk to people. Because I have enough training sessions during the week where I can just kind of go in, do my own thing, get through my session, get home. But one of the downsides to the amount of time that's taken today is at 7 o'clock, and I've only had 2 meals so far. So it means I'm going to have to make some kind of adjustment to my meals going forward. Like it is 7 o'clock, so I'm probably only going to have 1 meal left, and that's going to be my food done for the day. But I got some nice new deliveries from My Core Supplements. So I got 2 different flavors of Perform Whey. So I'll show them here. So I got the white chocolate hazelnut, and I also got the caramel biscuit one. So Perform is probably the nicest brand I've tried in terms of like the flavors, and as well the mixability, right? Because I like to make my whey into like whey paste or whey sludge. Like who drinks protein shakes anymore? So that's like what I typically do. I just make it into a paste. So what I'm probably gonna do is probably just gonna have some oats with some berries, some milk, and then a little bit of this, or a good bit of this on top, and then that probably be my food finish off for the day. It's interesting like where I am at the moment within the kind of training block, because I'm on week 6 of this cycle, and it's been very different to previous training blocks because I've had so many kind of social things going on, as I mentioned earlier on. So it's really hard to tell, like, am I fatigued from training, or am I fatigued from just, you know, going out? You know, for lack of a better term, poor sleep, some days poor nutrition as a result of those kind of nights out. So it's really hard to tell, but today was definitely one of the hardest sessions. And week 6, you know, using different equipment, again, that's another kind of variable thrown into the mix. Bad night's sleep last night as well, probably the first time I've had a bad night's sleep in a while. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Have I reached my peak condition, or is it just a case that today was an off day? But anyway, I suppose that kind of ties well into like the theme that I was kind of going at earlier on, in regards to like, don't let like perfect be the enemy of good. Because while today maybe wasn't the perfect environment for me to be training in regards to the fact that I mentioned I had a poor night's sleep last night, at the time it took me to train, I'm in a deficit at the moment too. So it'd be very easy for me to kind of get a little bit kind of annoyed about my performance in my training session today. However, I'm relatively happy with how I did today. But again, putting in the reps is going to be the most important thing. So hopefully there has been some kind of takeaways in this video for you that you can use in your own process. Perfectionism is something that I see within clients and within just people that I talk to in general in regards to their goals, to be the thing that holds them back. People don't want to make posts on Instagram because they have to use citations to back up their thing. They want to make sure they're completely right. They want to ensure that their content is very attention grabbing. They want to make sure they've got really good editing. They want to make sure they have the right camera. And similar with training, they want to ensure that, you know, they've had the best night's sleep, the best day of nutrition, and other recovery variables are on top before they go in to train, because otherwise it's a waste. And that's not the case. You just need to show up, because showing up is genuinely the biggest part of it. And then after that, it's the quality of effort. So show up, maximize your efforts when you are in that situation, maximize the day. And if you genuinely maximize every single day, you are going to be much closer to your goals in a few months' time. Gonna wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.